So this is the warm-up. It's super important, and you'll be starting every single training session that you do with this. We're going to start at the top and work our way down the body. So starting with the neck, we're going to do head tilts. So tilting the head down to the shoulder, not reaching the shoulder up to the ear. So the shoulders stay down, and we're going to do 10. 6, I think that's 6. 7. Just around about numbers, fine. If you lose count, don't worry too much about it. Pick up where you think you are, and then just move on. We're looking up and down, so we look up, we come down, and we tuck our chin down to our collarbones. As low as we can. If you can't get the whole way down, that's okay. You just get to where you get to. It becomes your starting point. And as you do more of these, you'll find that they might get a bit easier. Just remember to keep your arms relaxed at your sides. They don't need to be doing anything. Once we've done 10 of those, we're going to be looking left and right. So looking across, trying to line up our chin with the shoulder, with the collarbone. We're going to do 10 of these as well. Remember, just keeping the arms relaxed at the sides. So 9 and 10. Looking left and right is definitely my favourite thing to do. I'm not sure why. We're going to move on next to shoulder circles. So we're going to start, let's just start with the right hand. It makes it easy if you start with the same side every time. Right hand comes up and then around the back. And we're going to do 10. It's okay if your body twists a little as you're bringing your arm back. That's totally natural. Once you've done 10 backwards, we're going to do 10 forwards. Same thing. It's okay to get that little bit of rotation in your hips as you're swinging your arm around. Once you're on one side, same thing on the other. And then back the other way. You might find that one side is a bit easier to do than other sides. That's okay. And it can have to do with kind of a handedness, whether you're right or left-handed. Generally, one side of your body can be a little bit stiffer than the other sides. Or if you've had shoulder injuries, which are quite common, you'll find a bit of difference. Next, we're going to move on to wrist circles. So we're going to twirl them in. We're going to do 10. You might get some cracks and pops and stuff like that. If it's not painful, it's okay, just work through it. It can just be the joints getting movement that they're not used to. And then go back the other way, so we push our hands outwards. And we're going to move down to our hips. So with our hip circles, we want to have our feet placed around hip width or a little bit wider, just somewhere comfortable. Keep ourselves standing up nice and tall. We're going to put our hands on our hips because that's just a good place to put your hands. Otherwise, they kind of float about a bit weirdly, and you kind of end up looking or feeling a little bit strange. So you're going to push your hip out to the side, and then push it around the front, all the way around to the other side, and then around the back, and stick your butt out at the back. It's going to feel weird. It's totally okay. This is a bit of an odd movement. If you imagine like you're hula hooping, it's kind of, I think, a similar motion, but I'm not very good at hula hooping, so maybe it could be, or maybe it's not. We're going to do 10 of these. That's it. Push it the whole way around, like you're circling a barrel. That's a better way. Like you're circling a barrel. So the whole way around the edges, as far out as you can go. You might feel a bit of stiffness or some clunkiness, especially around these side parts. And if you don't do a lot of activity, especially, it's just tightness. If it's not painful, then it's okay to keep going. So once we've done 10 one way, we come back and do 10 the other. Don't be worried if it's not a complete circle to start with. It might feel a little bit more like a square or octagonal, if it's got some corners, it's okay. You get there. Once we're on 10 of those, we're going to go to knee circles. So feet together. I like to just rest my hands on the front of my legs once again because this gives your hands a job, because otherwise they kind of just dangle about. You're going to bend your knees forward and then just twirl them around, straighten them up, and then around to the other side. We're going to do 10. That's 10. Then we go back the other way. And 10. Then we're going to go finally down to our ankles and do ankle circles. So if you need to, you can find like a wall or something if you feel a bit uncertain of your stability. Just going to bring your foot up and twirl the ankle inwards. We're going to go 10. This one may not be smooth circles at first. And we'll go back the other way. They might be triangles or squares. They can be a bit hard to coordinate. Just remember, keep your knee where it is. Don't do bending there. It's all in the ankle. And that's about 10. And we're going to swap sides. You might also find that you're a bit more unstable on one side than the other side. This is also, it can be quite normal. We don't balance on our feet a lot. So we kind of end up with one side usually, and we go back the other way. Usually our dominant hand side is a lot more stable because it does a lot more work. Unless we've had an injury, and then things go crazy. 9, and that's about 10. Once we've done all of our circles, we're moving on to a squat. So with the squat, put your feet wherever they're comfortable for you. I'd recommend trying a little bit wider than your hips to start with, toes pointing slightly outwards. I like to bring my hands up in front of my chest because when our hands don't have something to do, they tend to just do weird things. So we give them a job. Hands are going to be in front of your chest, and it's also going to help keep your chest up as you squat forward, as you squat down without tilting forward. Yes. So push your butt back, going down as low as you comfortably can without struggling to get back up. We're going to do 10. That's 4. That's 5. 6. If it's a bit uncomfortable in your knees, try not going so low, or try using a chair and sitting down on a chair and then standing back up from that. I think that's 10. That's about 10. Next, we're going to move on to Cossacks. So for the Cossack, you want to have your feet about 1.5 times as wide as your shoulders. So they want to be right out there. You're going to bend your right knee, and as you do, your left toes are going to pull up. You're going to poke your butt back, and you're going to drop down to the right, and then come back up and swap sides. So don't go too low here. We're going to do 10, but what happens is if you go too low, you get stuck at the bottom, and then you've got to fall out of it a little, and it's not fun, and it can lead you to a bit of discomfort, a bit of injury. So you want to be careful here. Now, as we come down to the left or the right, that bending knee foot needs to be facing forwards. So this toe pulls up, this one faces forwards. So we're going to do 10 in each direction. I think we're almost there. And we'll call that 10. Once we're on 10 of those, we're going to be doing up dog, down dog. All right, up dog, down dog. I'm just going to tuck my foot away because it's going to be a pain. This is actually a yoga movement, but works really good as a warm-up. So you're going to place your hands on the ground about shoulder width apart. You're going to step your feet back and poke your butt up into the air as high as you can, trying to push your heels down onto the floor. From here, you're going to drop your hips forward and you're going to arch your back and look back behind you. So we're going to do 10 of these. Don't let your legs touch the ground as you're coming forward and arching back. You want to hold your knees up off the floor. So we don't want our legs coming to rest down. I think that's about 7. We'll do a few more. 8. 9. One more. And 10. Whew. Starting to get warm now. Alrighty. Once we've done those, we're going to stay down on the floor. And we're going to do some forearm stretches. So palms are going to face the floor. Fingers are going to turn outwards and as far around as they can. You place your hands on the floor. Bring your fingertips close to your knees. And we're going to hold for just a rough 30-second count. So it doesn't have to be too specific. Just count in your head. About 30 seconds. You should be feeling this one up the front of your arm here. And yeah, that'll probably be in the main place. You may feel something in your wrist simply because you're in a position that it may not be used to. So long as it's not painful, it's totally okay. You also may not be able to get your fingers this far around. That's also okay. You start where you start at. So if your fingers are a little bit pointing out to the sides more, totally okay. Once done about 30 seconds there, we're going to turn backs of our hands onto the floor and point our fingertips to our knees. So same thing again. You'll be feeling it this time down the front of your arm. If your wrists don't like to get into this position because it's a bit uncomfortable, a little bit too much of a stretch, that's okay. You can actually bring your hands out a little bit and lift your butt up a little. So otherwise, you'll be sitting down on your heels as closely as you can. But if you're finding it too uncomfortable, yep, just bring yourself forward and hold from that position, and that just decreases the stretch a little bit. So we've done about 30 seconds of those. Now you're going to move on to, it's a push-up variation. You're going to start backs of your hands on the ground. Now you don't have to do a push-up here. You're just going to lower your chest down to the ground, come back up, close your fists. So a lot of your body weight is going to be held with your legs, so you're not having to put a lot of weight on your hands. And we're going to do 10 of these. 7, 9, and that's about 10. We'll call it about 10. So following that, you're going to keep your fists closed and do the exact same thing again, this time not opening your hands at all. So coming down, 1, 2, we're going to do 10, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And finally, to finish off, nice and easy, palms on the ground. You're going to raise your palms up and keep your fingertips down. We're going to do 10. So don't push this too far. You only go as high as you can. Sometimes, some people might have more, some people might have less. You might have more range in one hand than the other even. That's about 10. And that is your warm-up. So go through it at your own pace, nice and steady, doing 10 of each movement. Have fun.